Guys, what's up? What's good? What's going on? It's me, Kitty on a Leash, and I'm here with a manga review on the highly anticipated manga series called To Your Eternity. This manga is by the same creator of A Silent Voice, which is one of my favorite mangas of all times as well. And this right here, I'll just tell you right now, is a totally different story. 100% totally different from A Silent Voice. So if you're expecting that, you won't. This story is by Yoshitokai Oyama, same creator as The Silent Voice. Now this story is going to get a little deep and a little complex, so bear with me. The story in To Your Eternity involves an orb. Now this orb was apparently around since the beginning of time. Its creator cast it upon the earth to see what would happen as an experiment. So it watched this orb for many, many centuries, and the orb is really interesting, but it can take on any form it chooses to. So at first the orb became a rock. It stayed a rock for a long time. Eventually that rock got old and some moss developed on it. So the orb, or the bean, or whatever, took on the form of the moss. From there, it snowed, and I guess the moss on the rock encountered a wolf, or a pet wolf. And this wolf slowly started to fade into health. It started to kind of go in and out of consciousness, and the orb, or bean, took on the form of that wounded wolf. Once took on the form of an actual life form, something alive, it then had to gain consciousness. It felt things, it felt feelings, it could understand temperature, it could understand the coldness, the wet of the ground, and then eventually it had to learn how to walk and how to move and how to use its limbs and such. So from there, it also realized that it felt pain for the first time. The wolf was wounded. There was maybe an arrow or so was like chucked into the side of his thigh. But the form was able to heal it within like 20 seconds. It was able to heal it and it felt pain no more. So whatever this bead is, it can take on forms, life forms, inanimate objects, and become them. So, wolf travels into this young boy's arms. Apparently the wolf is named Joanne. The boy's like, Joanne, I'm so happy to see you. So now our orb, or our being, is now encountered its first human. So the human's talking to him. It's trying to understand how to listen, how to do things. And the boy says, you need to eat. So he puts food in front of him. The wolf has to learn how to eat and do things. So it's kind of like a baby. Just, you have to learn things eventually as you get older and older. So the same thing's happening with this form. So to fast forward, the wolf is living with this boy. It's learning things that the boy's doing. It's learning how to be a wolf, a companion. And, not to get too spoilery here, but I do have to kind of go into the story a little bit. But eventually, you learn a little bit about the boy. He's living on his own. His family left the area to go to greener pastures with the hopes of them returning and coming back to get him one day. And this happened years ago. So this boy's been living on his own for a long time. He's trying to teach the wolf as much as he can because the wolf is his only other companion. His whole village is no longer there. He's the only one remaining. He dreams of green and leaves and grass and trees and stuff. But where they live, there's none of that. So the boy decides to one day go embark on this journey to reach the other village. So him and the wolf, they go on this journey. He grows weaker and weaker. Food is not there anymore. He gets really ill. And with this, sadly, he passes on. The orb, or the wolf now, takes his form. He takes the boy's form. Now, that was kind of like the beginning premise of everything. And the story of To Your Eternity is all about this being, whatever it is, this orb, this life form, and its progression through everything. Eventually, the wolf and the boy learn to speak, to interact, to do things that us humans do. Now, without spoiling a little bit too much, there there is a lot of like tribal type of stuff in this book as you encounter it. The form encounters a young girl whose name is June. I read the first 2 volumes so far. So she is this gal here. June is a very young girl. She looks a little older here, but she's like a little itty bitty kid. And her and the boy encounter each other somehow. Now, I really don't want to say too much more on the story because it seems like there are different groups in this world. It seems very like primitive. It doesn't seem like modern day or anything. There's groups, there's tribes, there's old rituals and stuff that is followed with this girl's tribe and her group. And I really don't want to get too much into that because I do really want you to check out the first volume and see for yourself what's really going on here. That's kind of all I can really say about the story so far. Now, To Your Eternity, the story is deep. It's really interesting. It's a bit of learning about, I guess, self-discovery in a way. You're watching this orb become a living being. So it's interesting seeing the progression of him. But the main premise of the story, or what we are really trying to figure out, is what is this thing? Who created it? What is its purpose? What are the limitations to becoming different life forms, you know? Can you switch back and forth through different life forms? And can this thing accept the forms of things that are living? You know, those are things that it's kind of like, I don't know, we'll have to kind of get to it and see what's going on. But that's kind of my main focus for reading the series, because it is interesting. It's a little out there, but at the same time, it just feels really cool. You're on an adventure. They're adventurers. They're, you know, explorers and so. And it's totally not the type of manga I would read, but I am so engulfed in the story and trying to see where this is gonna go. I really do like the main characters. I will say that there are a lot of kids in this series, so keep that in mind. But I feel like a lot of the times children characters in anime and manga can be almost sometimes more compelling than adults because they're so complex. They're still growing, they're still developing, and it's interesting getting into their minds. So I definitely do think that this story works very well. Yeah, I mean, that's all I can really say without telling you every little thing about this series. Go ahead and check it out. All in all, I really liked a lot about this story. The art inside the book it's okay. It's not anything too fantastic, but I do think it looks interesting. I love the development of the characters. I love the story. The illustration is great. And yeah, so all in all, I am going to give To Your Eternity an A. Just a solid A. It's very good. It's really interesting. The only reason I wouldn't give it an A++ is because I wasn't super keen on like finishing the second volume. I think there was like a little bit of a lull in between, in the middle of it. I was just kind of like, let me put this down for a little bit, and I ended up putting it down for like 2 months. Not because the story was bad. I don't know. It just kind of got a little too much. Like, I'll be honest, in the second story, you're following this little girl around for almost all the story, kind of. And she's a little bit of a. She's a kid. Like, her main thing is, like, I want to be a mommy one day, and I want to raise a family, and I like food and snacks and flowers. Like, she's a little innocent kid. The most interesting thing about the second volume is seeing the growth and progression of the bean, the wolf boy, um, I guess you can call him. That was really interesting. Like, there's a lot of stuff happening in this volume just besides the little girl. But she did kind of annoy me. She annoyed me a little bit. But it's totally fine. She's still a good character. Everything else around her is a lot more interesting than anything this girl has to say. But yes, I hope that the characters do evolve and we do get to encounter more like tribal stuff. And I want to find out what this orb is and what its purpose is. So I would definitely absolutely recommend reading To Your Eternity to everybody. I think everybody can pick this up and will probably really enjoy the story. Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed the review. Please let me know what you thought about it. And yeah, I hope you all have a great day. Bye!